10 a.m. to 11 a.m. with the consultant. Health is not merely the absence of diseases. It is your social, economic, physical, spiritual, and mental well-being. Just imagine you on 88.5 Super FM talking, questioning you, sharing your experience, information, education, entertainment, news, instructions, advice on diabetes, high blood pressure, strokes, menopause, AIDS, pregnancy, sex.
Sex? Did you say sex?
As prescribed, take your medication, exercise, and diet. On 88.5 Super FM, tell a friend, call your neighbor. Casualty 911 is on.
And of course, folks, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We have 11 minutes after the hour of 10 o'clock. If it's between, 10 and of course 11 on a Monday morning, you know, Casualty 911 is on. Of course, here with me this morning is our very own Ford, and she's here with her guest, so she'll introduce herself and likewise her guest. All right, folks, good morning.
Good morning, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here again this bright Monday morning. My name is Fawn Minville. I work with the Bureau of Health Education in the Ministry of Health. But that is for the benefit of our new listeners, because I'm always under the impression that every Monday we have some new listeners. So when you hear Fawn, that's me. I am based in Viewfort, Region 5 Health Region, but I work closely with my colleague, Miss Louisa Wilson, who works out of the Sufre Hospital in this health region. It is always a pleasure. Welcome back to our regular listeners, those on the bus stops, our bus drivers, the various companies. Some time ago, I got a surprise. Somebody said, Fawn, I heard you talking about fibroids. I had no idea that person actually listened to the program. So I am very happy. We are very happy. We are very pleased to have all of you listening in to the program. This morning, we have with us Nurse Charles. Nurse Charles will introduce herself shortly. We will be talking about breastfeeding. This month, the first week of August, we observe breastfeeding awareness. That is to raise awareness of the importance of breastfeeding, the benefits of breastfeeding, and the support that is available for breastfeeding mothers. So the theme this year is Let's Make Breastfeeding and Work Work. So Nurse Charles and I will be talking a little bit about that theme. And I think it's best if Nurse Charles tells us a little bit about herself before we actually get into the theme. So it's better to know a little more than just a name.
Okay, good morning, everyone. My name is Charlene Charles. I am a community health nurse presently attached to the Magouge and the Delse Wellness Centers.
Okay, so Nurse Charles kept it very, very brief. Okay, so if for any reason after you've heard Nurse Charles speak about breastfeeding, you want to have an extra chat with her, you know where you can find her, either the Morgouge Wellness Center or the Delse Wellness Center. So as I said, the theme this year for Breastfeeding Awareness Week, the first week of August, is Let's Make Breastfeeding and Work Work. So what do we mean by that? So Nurse Charles, would you like to just give us a little summary of what that is all about?
Okay, so basically, with relation to the theme for this year, let's make breastfeeding and work work. So, as parents or mothers, most of us, we have to return to work by the time our baby is maybe 6 weeks or so, for the most 6 weeks. So, breastfeeding generally, we are to breastfeed our young ones exclusively for the first 6 months. So, what we really want is that mothers get some time from the workplace so that they could maybe get to express the milk for the young ones. Because in their absence, while they're at work, we want that breastfeeding to be continued. So mother is at work and baby is at home, but still getting the breast milk. So if the mother is at work, so we need to make work and work work. Okay? So when the mother is at work, we need that the employers give some time, or maybe if there can be a policy where the mothers can get time in between while they're at work so that they could get to express the breast milk for the young ones.
Okay. So in as you mentioned, there's quite a gap between the return to work and the recommended time that children, babies should be exclusively breastfed. And when we say exclusively breastfed, we mean that they should not have anything other than breast
Yes.
milk. So not water, not the sauce from your chicken, nothing. Just breast milk. So in terms of the workplace, not all workplaces are created equal. In some of them, I guess some women could have longer maternity leave. Some of them find other means to get a longer period of time at home. As instead, an employer could think of providing space and time for a breastfeeding mother to pump. And in terms of pumping, I guess this will speak a little bit more about that later, how you pump and store so that there is no, so that the breast milk is not, what's the word I'm looking for?
Compromised.
Okay, so that it's stored properly and it does not affect the baby. In terms of the workplace, we could also start thinking of flexible working hours. I think that these are things that employers, in the absence of a law requiring us to have longer maternity leave, there are certain things that employers can put in place. And that is one of them. During COVID, there were quite a few people who worked well from home. And I think during the period of the 6 months after childbirth, maybe some employers might be willing to look at the possibility of allowing a level of flexibility in terms of how often mothers should come into the workplace, depending, of course, on the type of work that is done and the targets that have to be met. Now, Ness and I were having a little discussion prior to the program, and we were talking about whether that theme is only applicable to the workplace. Let us make breastfeeding and work work. Or whether there are other areas where some support can be given and it would help to make breastfeeding and work work. So let us look at the home and let us look at the healthcare institutions that serve us. At home, we know that many mothers have quite a bit of the responsibility in terms of chores. So if the household is made up of other adults, older siblings, maybe an extended family,
The partner.
yes,
partner.
a partner, older siblings, and maybe other family members. Many of our households are multi-generational households. We have extended families. In that instance, communication among family members could allow other family members to take up certain roles and responsibilities, which would allow the parent, the breastfeeding mother, a little bit more time so that maybe on an evening when she gets home from work, she can actually express, pump some milk that she can store for the next day, rather than being caught up in doing all of those household chores, cooking a meal, cleaning the house, and everything else that has to be done. We also have many single parent households, and then in that case, it may not work. Then a single mother would have to think about how she could manage her time differently, possibly to enable her to do some pumping during the period that she's at home. In terms of healthcare institutions, you work at two health centers. Is there any support that you think that is given within those healthcare facilities that could lend itself to that theme that would allow breastfeeding and work to work? So, for example, what support is available to breastfeeding or nursing mothers within the public health facilities?
Well, presently, there have not been any policies that have been set, although the discussion is ongoing. As you said earlier, they want to look at extending the maternity leave, maybe up to 6 months for breastfeeding mothers. Also, at the workplace, to have maybe a room or so which is conducive enough for expressing, where the mother will be able to express. Also, a refrigerator. All this has been discussed. So no, as I said, there has been no set policy, but um, it is an ongoing discussion right now. Okay.
Now, I was thinking in terms of myself as a relatively new mother with a 1 year old. I was thinking in terms of, you read very often of support groups and that sort of thing. Do you know of any support groups, or do you think it is something that could possibly work to help mothers to actually achieve that goal of 6 months of exclusive breastfeeding? Because we speak about mothers returning to work, but there are also mothers who are at work at home. They are stay-at-home mothers, and they don't quite meet the 6 month exclusive. So, what support is available within the health centers? And also, maybe you may not be able to speak in terms of the hospital, but definitely in terms of the health centers. What support is given? Are there educational sessions? Are there demonstrations? Are there maybe home visits? What is happening on the ground in terms of support?
Okay, so in terms of support, we do not actually have a breastfeeding group, but what happens from the time we start seeing the clients at the antenatal clinic, we start discussing breastfeeding with them, ask them whether they have decided whether they will be breastfeeding their babies. Then we start the discussion with the importance of breastfeeding. Also, with the education, we do, again, we discuss expressing breast milk, how to store it. We tell them about the pump, whether they will need to get a pump. Also, the storage bags to the bottles, and we explain everything on expressing and storing of breast milk, especially for mothers who will be returning to work. So we have to encourage them, because if not, they will divulge into the formula. So some of them may not be aware that even if they're at work, baby can still continue with breastfeeding. So from the time we see them at the antenatal clinic, we start educating them about breastfeeding. But then again, like you said, there are parents at home. So in as much as we may want parents to breastfeed exclusively for up to 6 months, there are still challenges that we face with that. So sometimes, even if we discuss, we give the handouts, we tell them everything about breastfeeding, You know, sometimes in the home, they may have maybe their grandmother or somebody else who will always try to, maybe if I should say, discourage them from breastfeeding exclusively. Okay, and you know, because of tradition, some and the myths that is associated with breastfeeding. So sometimes, even if we give them the correct information, when they go home, sometimes the problem or the issue is in the home where they may not really comply to breastfeeding their children exclusively for 6 months. Okay, so we will look at some of the myths
Before we
related to
move on the
breastfeeding later
myths,
on.
Yes, when
Mhm.
we look at the myths later on.
Mm.
You know, sometimes you hear about lactation specialists and that sort of thing.
Mhm.
Other than information, don't you think it would be appropriate to have somebody to actually assist? Because there are a lot of challenges that come up during breastfeeding. Breastfeeding does not always happen naturally for everybody. Some people may have difficulties,
Mhm.
different challenges that may make it a little bit more difficult
Mhm.
for breastfeeding to occur. There are challenges with the mother, and there may also be challenges with the child in terms of probably illnesses that make the child a little less likely to suckle as they should, and all of those things. So as we look to the future of breastfeeding and actually meeting those targets that were set by the World Health Organization in terms of achieving the 70% exclusive breastfeeding for the first 6 months, maybe we can look at, in the absence of actual, national policies, maybe we can look to introduce certain programs, do things differently, which would probably assist in helping us to achieve that in the various communities that we serve as health teams on the ground. So that's just a little food for thought, and we will take a short break, and then when we come back, we will speak about the benefits of breast milk and breastfeeding, the myths associated with breastfeeding, and so on.
This summer, protect your eyes and your wallet with sensational savings from Quartz Optical. Trade in and save up to 35% off your purchase, plus a free eye exam. Get what you need today with no catch. Affordable payment plans available from 3 to 24 months. Book your appointment today online at www.quartzoptical.com. Trade in your old glasses and save up to 35% off. Only at Quartz Optical, where the savings are sensational. Conditions apply. See in store for details. Quartz Optical. Value you can see.
Family fun days are here. It's time for movie marathons, living room camping, sweet treats, and outdoor fun. At Quartz, we have TVs, appliances, outdoor furniture, grills, pools, and everything you need for a family holiday. Shop today and pay later with Quartz Ready Finance. Plus, stay protected for up to 4 years with Super Shield extended warranty. Quartz is bringing back the fun days and bringing value home. Offer ends July 24, 2023. Special conditions apply.
Hi, this is Edmund Henry. Keep it locked to 88.5 Super FM. Boom!
Nobody else do it like we do. Super FM 88.5 to the world.
This is your Sulfur Pulse News Bulletin with Janine Gonzalez.
The Ministry of Education wishes to inform parents and guardians of students who wrote the grade 2 and 4 minimum standard test that due to some technical difficulties experienced, the results for this year's examinations were not issued before the closing of schools. According to a missive by the ministry, presently officers are working assiduously to ensure that the results are delivered at the soonest. The new projected release dates are Friday, August 18th for grade 2 and Friday, August 25th for grade 4.
This has been the Silver Pulse News Bulletin. Thank you for listening.
Wait and see, wait and see, wait and see, wait and see. Whenever we touching the vacancy, we just climb over the gate and boom! It's carnival time at Coach Ready Cash. So visit your nearest Coach Ready Cash for instant carnival prizes, tickets, and much more with your loan of $3,000 or over. Come home to Coach Ready Cash this carnival season and enjoy flexible payment terms, hassle-free service, and fast approval. All you need is your ID, proof of address, payslip, the job letter, and 2 references. Simple as that. Follow Ready Cash on Facebook and Instagram for your updates and in our in-store carnival parties and our carnival workout session. It's time for carnival at Coach Ready Cash. Visit shopcoach.com for details. Come home to Coach Ready Cash. We are ready when you are.
Casualty 911, 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. with the consultant. Health is not merely the absence of diseases. It is your social, economic, physical, spiritual, and mental well-being. Just imagine you on 88.5 Super FM, talking, questioning, sharing your experience, information, education, entertainment, news, instructions, advice on diabetes, high blood pressure, strokes, menopause, AIDS, pregnancy, sex.
Sex? Did you say sex?
As prescribed, take your medication, exercise, and diet. On 88.5 Super FM, tell a friend, call your neighbor. Casualty 911 is on.
And of course, welcome back inside Casualty 911.
Thank you, Ulan. So now this will be doing most of the talking. This will be talking about the benefits of breastfeeding. I guess this will tell us there are so many benefits. I don't know if there are any disadvantages to breastfeeding. If there are, I guess this will mention them. This will also be talking about some of the myths associated with breastfeeding, things that people believe that are not necessarily true. So take it away, Liz.
Okay, so we are going to start with the advantages of breastfeeding. So the advantages of breastfeeding we'll discuss today are to the mother, the infant, and to society. So advantages to the mother. It is easily accessible. So the breast milk is right there. The mother does not have to carry it in a bag anywhere that she's going. So it is easily accessible and readily available. So the mother can go in town, she could be on a bus, she could be anywhere, and baby is hungry, she could feed baby at any time. Prevents ovulation. So as we said, for the first 6 months, the baby should be exclusively breastfed. So if a woman is breastfeeding her baby exclusively for the first 6 months, then this is where we may see that ovulation will be delayed. Okay, so you must not miss.
So does that mean, as many people believe, that if you are breastfeeding, you cannot get pregnant?
Well, as I said, this will only happen if she's practicing exclusive breastfeeding. Okay?
So,
because if you are breastfeeding, because generally you're supposed to breastfeed your baby on demand, meaning anytime the baby wants it, or at least every 1.5 to 3 hours. So if in between you are giving your baby formula, this is not exclusive breastfeeding. So you have to be breastfeeding throughout the day.
So if the lady is only giving breast to the child for 6 months, that means within that 6 months, since you said there's no ovulation taking place, then would that mean that she cannot get pregnant during those first 6 months?
Yeah, because actually there's one of the forms of contraceptives called LAM, lactation amenorrhea method. So this is during this first 6 month period where if the lady is practicing exclusive breastfeeding, yeah, its ovulation will be delayed. Okay, yeah. So again, another advantage, no preparation is needed. So unlike the formula, you need to have hot water, you need a bottle, you need the formula itself. So the breast milk is right there, readily available. You just go ahead and you feed your baby. Facilitates maternal infant attachment or bonding. Okay, so with breastfeeding, this is a time where mother and baby, they build this bond. They get attached to each other. Okay, so I'm sure you can attest to that. Whilst breastfeeding your baby, you can sing to baby, you can talk to baby. It's a time where you and baby, you all interact with each other. Okay, it's mother and baby's time where you connect with your baby. Also, during the time of breastfeeding, the babies, they will play with you. Some of them, they will touch the breast, they will pull the breast, they will touch you at the side of your waist and all that. So this is what happens when you breastfeed your baby. It creates a bond for both you and baby. Skin to skin contact again enhances bonding. So like I said, during breastfeeding, your baby is very close, snuggled up to you. Baby is touching you, you're touching baby. So again, the skin to skin contact is very good for bonding.
Actually, what I find in this, in terms of the skin to skin, yes, maybe the hands, but I find even at the hospitals, I don't think it's promoted to have like naked baby or naked mother kind of skin to skin bonding, which actually has a lot of benefits. So these are some of the things when I was talking up to you about, implementing things on the ground outside of policy that can be looked at. And even when we go to the health centers, maybe the nurse can say, but sometimes you can just stay naked with the baby. The baby will get body heat from you and that sort of thing.
Yes, actually I do, especially when the parents complain of the babies having colic. So I encourage them to do the skin to skin. So where they remove their
All the
shirts,
clothes,
they
yes.
remove the babies as well, place the baby on their skin, and they
Cover
throw a
them.
blanket over
Yes.
the baby. So I do encourage them to practice the skin to skin with babies.
Even in the absence of the colic, it's very good.
Yeah.
Yes.
You said something. I wanted to touch on something you said, but I
Maybe it will
forgot.
come back to you.
Yeah.
So we'll go on to the next benefit. I think if you
Oh,
have.
I think you were talking about practicing the skin to skin from the hospital.
Yes.
So actually, this is the ideal where, but again, maybe because of the settings of our hospital, I'm not sure for OKEU now that they have, I think, yeah, now that they have this new maternity unit, I'm not sure whether they practice it. But the ideal would be to place the baby on the mother's chest immediately after birth, and the natural instincts, the baby would actually
Exactly.
crawl up to the breast. So this is the ideal way that it should be, but generally it's not practiced. But
Yes.
yeah, this would have been, of course, the best.
Not in
The best
natural
way to
birth
start
or-
off breastfeeding.
Yes, exactly. So whether
Yeah.
natural birth or C-section.
Okay. So another benefit to the mother, faster return to pre-pregnancy weight. So a lot of mothers who breastfeed, you would find that they would lose a lot of weight. Okay, especially
Yes.
those who practice the exclusive breastfeeding.
And those who eat
Yeah.
a nutritious diet,
Yes,
because
as well. Mhm.
when mothers are breastfeeding, the appetite increases. So
Yes.
sometimes when they eat, they may not necessarily eat the most nutritious of things.
Yeah.
So
Or maybe they may eat what's available to them.
yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So another benefit to the mother, it gives the mother a sense of satisfaction. So just knowing that you are able to provide a feed for your young one, just knowing that you are able to satisfy your young one nutritionally, it gives you a sense of satisfaction. Okay? Yeah. It also lowers the risk of breast and ovarian cancer. So studies have shown that women who have breastfed are at a lower risk of getting breast and ovarian cancer. So, like I said before, it's available whenever and wherever your baby needs a feed. Yeah, so advantages to the infants. It provides immunity. So,
And when we talk about immunity
Mhm.
related to breastfeeding, how long does that immunity against certain diseases last? So, for example, is it something that is almost like a lifelong benefit, or is it a benefit that is just for the period in which the child is being breastfed? So, maybe, for example, in terms of colds and that sort of thing. When we look at immunity with colds and how well they deal with those
well, when we look at it,
viruses.
a newborn baby going into a toddler, the immune system has not, which is the defense, it has not been fully developed. So that may occur about 18 months. So with the breastfeeding and with breastfeeding providing immunity, the very first milk which the baby gets from the breast is called colostrum. This is a thick and yellow or creamy, which comes from the breast. So this here, it contains antibodies, which will help to defend the baby from getting certain illnesses such as the cold, gastroenteritis, diarrhea, and all those things. Okay. So the colostrum from the breast, which is the very first thing the baby will get, it contains antibodies which protects the baby from certain illnesses.
So just as an aside, I don't know if you can answer the question. If you cannot, we'll just pass it on. I have been wondering at our hospitals, when a lady has a cesarean section, does the baby actually get the colostrum? How long does the colostrum? How long is it available in the mother, and is that the first feed that the baby gets?
Well,
Because a lady coming out of a C-section is out of it. You pass a sakale on you.
Okay, so colostrum, it's normally present for the first 4 days. Yeah, up to the first 4 days after birth. Okay.
So the first feed, would they have taken out colostrum before, or
I think we should pass that question.
Okay. Because
Yeah.
on the internet, information is very readily available these days. So you'd see blogs, you'd see articles where people talk about colostrum being removed prior to a cesarean section, particularly if it's a scheduled C-section,
Well, I
so
don't
that
think
it
in
can be
our
given to the
setting
baby.
that
So
is done.
I was just wondering, but please, if you don't feel comfortable, we'll go right along with that. Okay.
Yeah.
So you said you were going to be talking about some of the myths associated with.
Just now we have to
breastfeeding.
continue
You
with
have
the
one more?
advantages for the
Okay.
infant. So the breast milk is at the ideal temperature, meaning it won't be too hot or too cold for the baby. Unlike if you are to prepare the formula, sometimes it may be too hot or sometimes it may be too cold. But the breast milk, it's at the perfect temperature. Okay. It prevents constipation and diarrhea. So again, the breast milk, it has the adequate amount of everything for your baby. So water, vitamins, minerals, carbohydrates, fats, everything in there your baby is getting it at the the right quantity that he or she is supposed to get.
Okay, so
So
is that
with the formula,
irrespective of how the mother eats? Does the mother's diet have any impact on the nutrients within the breast milk?
well, it doesn't really impact, but generally, the mother must have must get adequate nutrition, and especially water. She has to consume a lot of water in order to continue producing that breast milk. Okay, yeah. As I was saying, prevents constipation and diarrhea. So babies who are formula fed, you have to give them water because the formula, it can cause constipation. But a baby who's breastfed exclusively, you do not have to give any water. Okay, and a baby who's breastfed exclusively can go up to a few days without passing any stool, and that's okay. Yeah, unlike a baby who is formula fed, if they do not pass stool for 1, 2, 3 days, there is a problem. Okay, so that baby is maybe having some constipation, and they may need to get some medical assistance. But a baby who's breastfed exclusively can go up to a few days without passing any stool. Yeah. Again, it facilitates bonding, and we've spoken about that before. It is easily digested and nutritionally adequate. So the breast milk, it is just right for baby's stomach. So the stomach doesn't have to do that extra work compared to the formula. Okay, so it was adequately designed for the baby's stomach. And generally, it is best for the baby. Yeah. So for society, advantages of breastfeeding to the society, it reduces absenteeism. So if your baby is being breastfed, then you'll have a healthier baby. Okay. So you'll have a healthier baby. So your baby may not get sick as other children. They may not always get the cold. They'll not always get the flu, diarrhea, gastroenteritis. Because remember, with a formula-fed baby, you have to consider washing your hands and the hygiene, washing your hands, washing that bottle properly. So if all those things are not practiced, then your baby will always be at risk of getting infections, getting diarrhea, vomiting, gastroenteritis, unlike a baby who's breastfed.
So are there any requirements in terms of hygiene for a breastfeeding mother?
Yes, so with the requirements, this will come in care of the breast. So we'll discuss
No,
that
since we were
later.
talking about
Yeah.
infections
Mhm.
because of the
Yeah.
use of
So with the
formula,
breast,
I
before
just
the
brought it up.
mother breastfeeds the baby, she can always have a wet rag and clean up the nipple before she breastfeeds the baby. Yeah.
A clean rag.
A clean rag, of course. Yeah. It reduces expenditure on health. So again, we will have a healthier population if our babies are being breastfed. Promotes healthy environments. So with breastfeeding, we do not have any containers to discard.
Right, you have no waste.
Yes, no waste. So unlike the formula, you have the tin, you have the cover, you have this, you have that. So breastfeeding, if I should say, is environmentally friendly.
Very
Yeah.
much so.
It saves foreign exchange. So we do not have to be importing all of that formula if parents tend to practice breastfeeding. So it actually saves on foreign exchange. Yeah. So these are basically some of the advantages of breastfeeding.
So can we have a look at the myths, at least some of them, because apparently our time is going by so quickly.
Okay. Okay, so
take a
the
look at
myths.
some of the
So, yeah,
myths?
let us look at some of the myths. So as I was saying earlier on, some people, they may be living with their grandparents and so forth. So they will tell them, oh, the breast milk doesn't satisfy the baby. It's not full in the baby's belly, but no, it is. Let us take, for instance, a newborn baby. A newborn baby, if you observe, when a newborn baby suckles on the breast, they will suck for a few minutes, maybe 1 minute or so, and they will stop. It doesn't mean that that baby is satisfied or filled as yet. It's just that since they are so small, the jaw gets tired very easily. So they will suckle on the breast for a while, then they will rest. Then they will start again, they will rest. Now, with breastfeeding, you must have a lot of patience. So, a baby who's breastfed as well will, if I should say, will want to feed more often or more frequently than a baby who's formula fed, because the formula is more solid and it takes more time to digest. So unlike the breast milk, it's digested easily. So a baby who's breastfed only, they will cry more often. So that is why, again, we say they have to be fed on demand or every 1.5 to 3 hours. So the myth of the breast milk doesn't fool the baby, doesn't satisfy the baby, this is not true. Okay? Yeah, you just breastfeed your baby on demand whenever the baby wants. And again, a breastfed baby will want it more often than a baby who's formula fed. So other myths, some persons may say, oh, the breast milk is salty. So they will say that the baby is refusing the breast because it's salty. But what may happen? Okay, sometimes you may go to town or so, you walk around, you perspire. So when you bring that breast to the baby without cleaning it up, the perspiration, of course, it's kind of salty. So before you breastfeed your baby, it's important to always clean up around the nipples and the areola.
Okay.
Yeah, other myths, breastfeeding can cause your breast to sag. Okay, so again, you may find some people saying they do not want to breastfeed because their breasts will sag and or it may fall. So what is recommended is that persons must wear the adequate bra for when breastfeeding. The bra must be supportive. It should be a bra which covers your entire breast, all around the breast, and the straps. These straps are normally the wide straps, the bras with the wide strap. So these are the bras which help to support the breast when breastfeeding. Yeah, so basically these are the most common myths.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
with breastfeeding.
let's talk a little bit more about breastfeeding, because we spoke about the breastfeeding exclusively for 6 months, but thereafter, what should happen?
Okay, so from 6 months onwards, the mother should start introducing soft foods to the baby. Okay, so they could start introducing soft fruits, pumpkin, potato. Yeah, but they should do that. They should not give the baby too many things at once, because you may want to know whether your baby is allergic to something. So if you start giving too many foods at once, you may not be able to identify which food that's your baby is allergic to. So, you gradually start increasing the variety. But from 6 months, you start introducing soft foods to your baby, and you continue with breastfeeding. Yeah, breastfeeding can be continued for up to 2 years. Yeah, some children, they may tend to stop on their own for whatever reason. Some may even want to go over the 2 years. So sometimes you may find children who have 3 years and they're still breastfeeding. Yes.
So are there any disadvantages to that prolonged breastfeeding? So for example, a 4 and 5-year-old who is still breastfeeding.
Okay. So generally what you may see with older children, toddlers who are still breastfeeding, most times they may want to, majority of the intake, they may want breast alone. But at that age, the breast milk alone will not be sufficient for growth and development of a toddler.
So it does not
So-
provide all the nutrients that they
No,
require
adequate
to
enough. It doesn't
to-
provide enough at that time. Yeah, so that is why from 6 months onward, you're already starting to introduce the soft foods and gradually you go into the more solids with them, but you continue the breastfeeding.
Okay. Now,
Mhm.
I always think that we should look at nutrition from a holistic point of view. So, in as much as there are so many wonderful benefits to breastfeeding, I think parents also need to be made aware and to be encouraged that when they start introducing other foods, that they try to keep those foods, give them nutritious foods,
Mhm.
because we find that very often you might be even at the health center, you may be seated there and you see a 1-year-old with a box drink and a packet of whatever. Maybe it's just the snack for the day, but definitely the box drink should be out of it.
Mhm.
Um, because in as much as, unless you correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm speaking from my own opinions here. In as much as breastfeeding provides certain advantages, we should not behave in a way that as though we believe those advantages that are given because a child is breastfed, say exclusively for 6 months, will override the poor diet and bad nutrition of the next 5 years. Right?
Mhm.
So breastfeeding is wonderful. It has all these advantages, but I think maybe we might lose some of that if we do not try to introduce children to a variety of foods when we start introducing them. A variety of foods. Yes, we have picky eaters. We have some very picky toddlers, but in terms of legumes, we have lentils, we have beans, we have all the vegetables that can be steamed and crushed. We have fruits. When mango is in season, let them try the mango, let them try the plums, let them try. I don't know what's wrong with that mic today. I just want to come and meet me. So all of those different things, instead of just focusing on the things that we can quickly go and buy, in just the same as formula, you run and buy, we run and buy it, then let us try not to run and buy the other packaged stuff. I don't know what you think of that, nurse, and also in terms of breastfeeding and all the advantages. These advantages are there because the child is newly introduced into an environment that is different. So there are many healthy habits that we have to continue in order for the exclusive breastfeeding to actually work the full wonders of having a healthy child. Breastfeeding exclusively for 6 months and then doing nonsense for the next 5 years
Yes.
is not going to give you a healthy child.
Yes, well, I quite agree with that. Yeah.
So, example, we talk about the sedentary lifestyle. It's happening very early. Children less than a year old seated on a tablet
screen,
for
too
an
much screen
extremely
time.
long period of time. The recommendation actually is that children under 2 should have no screen time,
screen
except
time.
I think they made an exception recently, except for video calls.
Okay.
But as I always say, you do what works for you in your family, but within reason, because you do not want to have a child who is so hooked to a screen, for example, that they will not go outside to play,
to play.
and therefore their gross motor skills are lacking, their socialization is lacking. So all of that is part of having a healthy child. So include the breastfeeding. The breastfeeding is your first step, our first step, but to be followed by others. This, is there anything you'd like to add? Maybe if there are any activities, or if there's any encouragement you can give to pregnant women to come to the clinics, or whatever it is you'd like to share at this one. Pardon?
I say, yes, the prepared is for men, so they have advantage, like what's for as well.
Oh, you mean the
men's health?
No, I think he's talking about. I know he's talking about the new the services, ultrasound and stuff like that. No.
Just for the men and women, I know sometimes you have things and other persons might not know about it.
Okay, so this is the best person to.
So
think about
in
that.
terms of well, the support is always there from the nurse at the wellness center. As I told you, during the antenatal period, we have a lot of educational sessions on breastfeeding with the clients, and even postnatally as well. So the support is always there, although we do not actually have a support group, but we do the one-on-one with the clients. And with regards to the services available for men at the Soufriere Hospital, there is the men's health clinic. I think it's every third Wednesday. Yeah, there's a special clinic for men. Yeah.
Now, for since we're talking about breastfeeding, maybe you could share your clinic days at Montrouge and Delse.
So at Magouge,
prenatal,
the
postnatal.
antenatal, postnatal, puerperium clinics are on Wednesdays, and it's on a Thursday at Delse. However, I do accommodate the parents, especially those who are working. I do accommodate them on the days that they can do it. So if maybe they cannot come on the Wednesday or the Thursday, I schedule an appointment with them so that they could come in with the babies or to do the antenatal clinic.
Wonderful. So, nurse, thank you for coming in this morning. I think our listeners got quite a bit of information as it relates to breastfeeding, the importance, the benefits, and I hope that, it is the best. And I hope that we can meet those targets with the right support on the ground for mothers who may need it. I think that is the only, maybe not the only way, but certainly one of the best ways to move forward in terms of meeting the targets for exclusive breastfeeding in the first 6 months, as well as, obviously, as the theme says, let's make breastfeeding and work so that employers can become, in the absence of policies, national policies, so that the employers could be a little bit more creative and accommodating in terms of allowing new mothers the space and the time to provide breast milk for their babies. Thanks again for listening. We will be back on next week, Monday.
911, 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. with the consultant. Health is not merely the absence of diseases. It is your